Hello guys, welcome back to the last episode of this tutorial where we are talking about integration tests and unit tests in React applications. This is the last episode, episode number 9, in which I am going to show you how to test the failure scenarios of the code that we have so far. So right now we have employee API, which is like communicating with a backend API, even though we have hard-coded an array, right, for simplicity. So chances are when you are communicating with a backend API, the application fails for some reason. So inside of your application, you are tracking the errors, right, that your communication with the backend API might encounter. So right now what we have inside of app.tsx and the tests that we have written for this component is only verifying the behavior of the application in like successful cases, like the happy path of the application, right? But it is also possible to write tests to verify the behavior of the application when the communication fails. So in that case, we need to write new test code. Let me show you exactly what I mean. So if you take a look at this file, app.tsx, you will realize that I am tracking the errors that the application might encounter. Whenever, for example, I am getting new employees because I am working with promises, I am catching any failures here, and I am setting the state to this, string. If I am adding a new employee and I encounter some errors, again, I am, catching that and setting the error state accordingly. If I am trying to delete an employee and I encounter some error, I am setting the state here, right? So this error is a state, local state for this app.tsx component. And then I am showing this, state if it has a value. And yeah, this is the way this component app.tsx is working. If everything goes without any issues, of course, the employee API file is going to communicate with that, backend API, backend endpoint, and is going to do the CRUD operations. But if there is some error, we want to write tests to see that app component behaves correctly, rendering those messages in the component, those string messages in the component, right? These messages. So if you take a look at the test that we have right now, what is happening is that we are only covering the success cases. I mean, the happy path of the, CRUD operations. So we are checking whether the employees are showing correctly, adding an employee works correctly, updating an employee works correctly, and deleting an employee works correctly. We do not have any tests for when the operation fails. We want to write some tests to see if, for example, deleting an employee, we're going to mark the delete employee, right? We're going to mark this and we're going to throw an error. We're going to mark a rejected value. We're going to see when the delete employee operation fails for whatever reason, does the component shows the correct state to the user or not? So right now we are, creating mocks for these functions like get employee, delete employee, and so on, right? We are creating mocked versions of these functions. And because we are working with promises, I'm sure you are already familiar with these vocabularies: mock resolved value, mock rejected value. If you're not familiar with promises, no worries, there is a playlist on my channel that you can watch. But the important thing is that in employee API, we are working with promises, and promises can reject for some reason, and I want my component to handle those. And I have already written the code here for when the component, fails, or when the promise, rejects. I am catching those cases and I am setting a local error state here. But right now I want to write tests for it to see whether the, component actually renders the message that I wanted to render when the promise rejects or not. So let me write this code. First, let's see if the API can't get us the employees. Does the component show the error as well, show the error or not? So we're gonna get the employees. The next one is, yeah, this is the correct method. I'm gonna get rid of the first one. So the get employees is gonna reject, as you can see, with a marked value, new error, API error. Then we're gonna render the app component and we will expect to see this text in the document. The next one, if add employee fails, let's control the behavior of this marked function. It's gonna return a mark rejected value with an error. We're gonna render the component and we're gonna check whether we see the loading text, and then whenever we enter some values for a new employee for name, role, and department, and then we trigger that add employee button by clicking on it, we expect to see the error message in the document, failed to save employee. The next one, shows error if delete employee API fails. So we're going to control, again, the get employees. It's going to return one single object inside of an array, of course. And then the delete employee is going to reject, mark rejected value with some error. Then rendering the app component, we expect to see this value. We're going to click on the delete button and we expect to see this text, failed to delete employee, in the component. Let me get rid of the first test here. I'm going to remove this one. So basically the pattern is very similar to what we used to do. We are controlling the behavior of these functions coming from our component. When we are testing the get employees function, we are controlling its behavior. We are saying that this marked version is going to return a rejected value. So we're going to mark this and it's going to reject with a marked value, and that marked value is a new error object with this text. And when that happens, we expect the app component to catch that error, right? Because we're using promises, and we expect that component to render this piece of text in the document, in the component. And this is exactly what the app component is doing. I mean, inside of this use effect hook, if you take a look, whenever we're getting the employees using the API, if there is an error, if the promise rejects, we are going to set the error state to this text, and we are going to show this here. This is the pattern we have used for these tests. The next one is whenever we want to add a new employee and the add function fails for whatever reason. So again, we are controlling the get employees. It's going to return an empty array, but the add employee is going to return a marked value. So it's going to reject the promise. It's going to reject with a marked value, and that value is like an object, like an error object. And then first we expect to see this on the component because we are loading employees. Then we are going to input some name, role, department for the new employee we want to add, and then we're going to click on add employee. But because the add employee is going to throw this error, we expect to see this piece of text, failed to save employee, in the component. The last one is delete employee. Again, we are going to control get employees, returning an array with one single employee. We're going to delete, we're going to control the delete function by returning, a marked value. The promise is going to reject with a marked value, and that value is a new error object. We're going to render the app component. We're going to verify that for this single, employee, we get this on the document. This is what is the application doing. The employee list component is rendering this, and employee list is used inside of the app component. And then we simulate clicking on the delete button, and we expect that delete function to throw an error. Here we are controlling the behavior. and then that throws an error. The app component is going to catch that error. It is using promises, and we expect to see this string inside of the component. This is the way we are testing the, failure scenarios for deleting an employee, adding an employee, and getting employees. Now, the next step is to run these tests. So, I'm going to run these tests. Let's see if we get all of our tests. Yes, we got, for test files, we have 16 tests and all of them are passing. So in this video, we kind of tested the failure scenarios of the app component as well. And inside of my note, you can find these, test methods, and we also ran the, tests using this command. And that was it for this episode and this playlist. I congratulate you for watching the whole series, the whole playlist. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. I hope you've learned something. If that's the case, if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, share the videos, the whole playlist with a friend. If you have anything to say, I'd be more than happy to, get in touch with you. Just leave a comment in the comment section. If you want me to create, playlists or videos about a specific topic, just let me know. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.